the journey of a storyteller named Jeeva Raghunath.
Okay.
Okay. I happened to go through your website. I thought I'll do a little bit of preparation before I come in.
I'm sorry, it's very outdated. It's very outdated.
I know. I'm a bit nervous now because Bhavna got a few things wrong. I hope I have the rest of it correct, because we picked it up from your official website.
It's my fault, not yours.
But there are certain things here which I think will remain always right, because there is this thing that's come up that you are now an accomplished storyteller and an author. And I would rather go ahead and say that an authority in storytelling by your experience, though you would not claim it, but we, having watched you over the years, we feel that we have a lot to learn from you. But I'm going to go travel back to your days when you were a child, because there are a lot of children here. They'll be very interested in knowing that. I read in your website that you were called Vayadi, meaning talkative, Gunthroat. I can imagine that even now, Joker, Fatso, Jeeves, you had various names, and it also said you went around telling stories to everybody possible. So can you share a bit of your childhood and how did people, tolerate you as a storyteller?
Good question. No, the thing is, I grew up with storytellers. My grandmother, my mother, my grandfather, my uncles, my aunts, my siblings all told stories. Especially, my grandmother had many kids, and so there were many grandchildren. So she would all make us sit in a large circle, and she would take the gunda, the cauldron, and she would add the rice and the sambar and the curry, all of it, mix it together, and she'll make these urunda, little rice balls. And you so like we're supposed to hold our palm, and she'll leave it in the palm and start eating, and start telling the stories. So as she told, we would be like only eating. And and suddenly from behind the cook has to sign saying, Amma, soru theendruche, saapadu illa, kadaiya mudinga. So then, she was very fascinated with all these Raja Rani stories. That's why when I read Harry Potter, I said, my parties told me similar stories. It was not new to me. She had all those magic elements, and she just made up, half the time she made up stories. And she would always finish her story by saying that, by saying, and the Raja or Rani, in a kalyanathu கூப்பிட்டாங்க. அந்த கல்யாணத்துக்கு இந்த புடவையை கொடுத்தாங்க. So she would feel her sari and say that was the sari, and we believed it because the story was so effective. We were transported to that kingdom. We were transported all around. So I think along with food, I think I also ate stories. Oh. So like all the other systems in me, I think story system is also there. And I'm an auditory learner. I'm very lazy. All my siblings are voracious readers, but I'm not. I'm a listener. So if I listen to somebody, I'm very good at, getting stuff and, making it mine. So I had that ability, and probably my genes, because I come from an art family. So the genes helped me with singing and dancing and drama. I think it's all they're a part of my genes. And so it happened. And basically I was a very bold child. I was never shy. I mean, I'm named after my grand aunt, and she's supposed to be like, or rather I'm supposed to be like her. Very brave and very outspoken kind of a person. And so I was extremely naughty in school, but at the same time, very responsible. So I would never get caught because they'd say that, she's very naughty, but still she's very responsible. You can make her do stuff. So what they did with me was they made me the class leader, right from grade 1 to until school final. Only way to control her is to make her the monitor. So that's how I was a monitor. But that taught me a lot of things of how to be responsible as well, and accountable as well, and lots of things. The school taught me a lot of things. So both my school and home kind of groomed me into, into extracurricular activities, and a lot of it. I studied in Vidyodaya, and that was good school, which gave us so much of exposure to fine arts and stuff like that. So I think it is all there, a part of it, and I never realized that one day it's going to be my profession, and never. But I also feel that, when you're passionate about something, it'll come to you. No matter what.
Very true.
It'll come to you. And that's how it came to me, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I do party with you in your thought process where schools are great grooming points for all these things, and if the school can give the right kind of platform, then it can be really lovely for performing artists to really explore and experiment themselves right from a young age.
Yeah.
Dear audience, this is an interaction with one of the finest storytellers of Chennai, Jeeva Raghunath. And in case you have any questions, you can drop it on the YouTube chat box and we will take it up from there with Jeeva ma'am. So I'm requesting our host Tejaswini Vijay that in case if there are any questions to do prompt it to me. So as I go through, I have just around 5 questions, quick questions to go through the journey of this wonderful storyteller. Now, moving on to my second question. School days are fun. We love telling stories at home. There are people who listen to us, and we do have platforms in schools. We did have a lot of occasions in schools where India being India, we have a lot of festivals to celebrate. So every festival becomes an occasion for us to go on stage. I can't forget, any of those stages that I went on, as a dancer, as a singer, as a storyteller, which has groomed. Now, being recognized as a professional storyteller is great today, but years back, you're talking of years back, 23 years back. Yes, 23 years back, being a storyteller, that too from Chennai, being a professional storyteller, I am sure that wouldn't have been accepted so quickly. Yeah. And I don't know how it was with your experience, which is something that we would like to know. What you had to go through to establish yourself as a professional storyteller. Which was your first stage as a professional storyteller and your experience of that to us?
Frankly speaking, no problem.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but because I think I don't think about success. I think that makes all, because I'm just enjoying. It's like eating a nice sweet from one alwa stall and giving it to you, Vijay, and saying, eat it. And I watch you. And when you're eating, you say, you like it, right? You like it, right? So I'm just sharing that with you. So it was for me, storytelling is like that. I don't do it for others. I do it for myself. I'm happy. So what happened was I translated Kathy Spagnoli's book, because I went to work with Radhika, and it was Priya's Day, and it was a paper tearing activity story. I'm not very, very good with all these things. I can speak all right, but I can't do two things at the same time. So I said, oh, I got to tear paper, because that's the story is about paper tearing. Priya's Day is about paper tearing. So without that story, doesn't make sense. What do? I said, best thing is let's add songs to it. But I can't compose. So happy at 3D tunes. It's okay. I mean, like, you didn't know that. Those days we didn't know that, there's copyright, blah, blah, blah. Everything I knew. So I just told all those little songs, made my own lines. And so when I was tearing, I was singing. So people will be listening to my song. They won't watch what I'm doing. So I finished that for the book launch. I did it. I did it in Tamil because Kathy was not there. Sandhya did in English. There was a group of children from the underprivileged, group. And so I did it in Tamil. And soon after that was over, people came and said, you're a wonderful storyteller. I said, huh? Storyteller? Because I didn't know there was something called storytelling and storyteller. I still remember Radhika coming and saying, just smile and say thank you. I said, okay. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the next day, there was a half a page write-up about Priya's Day and my storytelling in the newspaper. I said, 20 years of a teacher, not one line of appreciation. I just tell one kada and today I'm there on paper. It was just that. And so that was the first experience where I didn't know I was a storyteller 23 years ago, again in August.
Right, okay. August seems to be a great month for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that was my first thing. So I didn't even know that was, like I told you, I didn't know it was something called storytelling. And that's good. That could be my rest of my life. I just didn't plan for it. Like I told you, I'm never conscious of anything. Right? To me, I don't know. Something that my parents taught me is like that you be good for yourself. You be number one to yourself. You don't have to be number one father. Be number one to yourself. If you can sleep well, it means you've done your job well. If you don't sleep well, it means you've not done something right. So it's always been like that. I've never felt anything as an individual victory or success. Nothing like that. So what? There are brilliant people around doing brilliant things. So you're not the only one to say, hey, man, I'm the best. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Right. They're far more better things. It's just that some people come out in the front and some people are not. It's just time, I should say. And then, that was my first experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. There's the second thing that, or rather two things that we learned from this particular question. One is your candid approach and your honesty. the way you've been answering, it's just been fantastic because that shows how simple a person you are. And for an artist to be creative, you have to really be genuine and simple. And the second factor that I find from your answer is how supportive a family should be for art to blossom. So those are two wonderful takeaways from this question that I infer, and I hope our audiences are, listening to us and inferring from this. This takes us to the next leap in your life. So from having told your first story, I also happened to watch your or go through your calendar of events in your website, though it's old, or outdated. I wouldn't say old, outdated. I'm taking that word outdated from a leap of your conversation now. But you seem to be busy with a lot of festivals around the world. You've been part of many storytelling festivals. So, which was your first festival where you told a story? And what are the experiences that a storyteller gains by being part of such festivals? And can children be part of such festivals? So there are three questions here. One is your first festival, then your experiences from such festivals, and can children take part in such festivals? Over to you, ma'am.
Good. All right. I knew this question was coming. That's why I didn't continue. I stopped. Because I was hoping to be the next one. So what happened was, like I said, I was working for Tulika, and Kathy Spagnoli's book was released, and Kathy also trained many people in Singapore. So her book was sold by Kiran Shah in Singapore, who was Tulika's agent to sell books. So when the Singapore government, the National Library Board of Singapore, decided to run a children's festival, they started in 1999, but 2000 full-fledged, they wanted to start. She writes to Radhika Menon asking for a Tamil storyteller, or a storyteller who can tell stories in Tamil. Immediately, Radhika said in 1999, she said, hey, I have my own in-house storyteller, Jeeva Raghunath. So I get invited. But lots of questions in the minds of Singaporeans. Can she speak English? Can she manage this? Da, 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 da. But then I went there. I go there and, first time flying overseas, not used to it. I didn't even know how to wear my belt inside the flight and all of that. That's another story. That's for another day. That's a long story. I land there and, I don't know what to do. And, I'm going there. And then I find somebody holding a placard with my name and saying India. Oh my goodness. Each time I say that, I get goose pimples. The feel you get, India. Mm-hmm. There's somebody to invite you. Wow. Great feel. And she's like, full-term pregnant woman who comes in, Malar. I remember her name, Malar. She says, we go into her car and then we drive past and she's giving me her schedule. I want to look around Singapore. Come on, it's the first time I'm coming. She wouldn't let me. She said, no, listen to this. Listen. I said, okay. No, I went a little early because, I thought, let me go a little early. And of course, I couldn't afford to stay in hotels because they had put us in 5-star hotels. So I didn't have that kind of money. And I said, can you get me a small, a little space where I can stay? But they're very nice. The Hindu Endowment Board gave me a place to stay in the Shiva temple in Geylang in Singapore. So I was given the bride's room when I went there. So that was there. So I went there. And then, I was going to be shifting after a few days, I was supposed to be shifting. And then the evening of the inauguration, Malar comes and picks me up and I'm going to this huge, there's a new library they're opening and you're there, and you're supposed to be traditionally dressed. And I was going to do a Bengali story. So I borrowed some jewelry and a Bengal sari from my friend. And I had very long hair that time. So I put a little bun and I had to know how to put jasmine, all of that, the big bindi and typically trying to look very Bengali kind of a thing. I wore the kind of sari. You ask me now, I wouldn't know. I learned it then and I just wore it and it was all ready. And, it was a small little platform. It was not a big stage platform. And, there were storytellers from many countries who had to come on stage and speak. And then it's going to be my turn. And of course, I'm not used to these headsets and all those things. We are used to these typical microphones with these long threads, not even cordless. 23 years ago, it was like 21 years ago. I was used to that. They came and put something here and all that, and they gave me a little box and they said, put it inside, clip it on. Oh, I said, okay. And I kind of clipped it. And then I get onto they said, Jeeva Raghunath from India. So I get onto the stage and I say, Vanakkam, dum. that little box, the battery box, falls on the wooden floor. It's a very special gathering. It's about 200 people with Mrs. Nathan, the then president's wife, as a chief guest. And 200 of them go. That was it. I was totally parched. I was dry. No voice. And that Chinese sound person came. He said, Voila, you don't know what to put there. He said, I said, no. And he put it inside my dress. Sorry to say, it went and landed, you know where. He said, never mind. It's safe inside, I said. Then I started. I said, hun, hunna, hun, hunna, hun, hunna. I started singing, and oh Lord of them. And as soon as the story, I did the story of His Don't Bite, which was published by Tulika, written by Vayu Naidu, and also co-produced by Current Details. And so I sang the song and I did that story. And then I finished at a standing ovation.
Wow.
Tears started rolling, but then, I just controlled. Then I went back, changed my dress, wore a salwar kameez, and stood, and the rest of things were happening. And there was a high tea, and then there was two stiff uniformed men who came to me and said, excuse me, madam, Mrs. Nathan would like to meet you. I said, what? He said, yes. So I was like, ooh, shaking, and I went there. She said, you know something? I don't like snakes, but I like your snake. It's very good, she said. To this day, she's a good friend of mine. And, always she supports me. Wherever I do stories, she comes, and she had the good heart, because I lived in Singapore for a couple of years and I was moving back to India. And she said, she called the other storytellers, why are you letting the icon of Singapore go? I mean, like, for somebody like her to say that I thought was great. So that was my first venture to the overseas. But what happened was, I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know that you could do stories in different ways. This is how I had heard my family tell me stories. This is how it was for me. Storytelling was being animated, dancing, singing, jumping around. That was me. But this was very unique for everybody. Right. Nobody had ever seen anything like this with such high energy, singing and dancing and telling. It is a combination of traditional and contemporary storytelling, which I didn't know it was. Right. To be very frank with you, I just said it. That's how I always tell stories. I like to be very expressive, and Indians are very expressive, and we are animated anyway. So I was like, and all those things. And this fascinated people who came for the festival. That's how I got invited overseas. Wow. To be very frank with you, I have never ever applied for anything. It's all been word of mouth who have invited me. But nothing to be proud of. But the thing is, I hardly work in India. It's very sad. Mm-hmm. Many people outside India know me more than people in India. Right. Nothing to be happy. But I guess, it's a time when opportunity comes and you can't say no. And of course, economics. So you need to, not that you earn a lot when you go overseas, but the experience is huge. Right. The different cultures teach you so many things. Watching others teach you so many things. Like Dan Falat, Margaret Reed MacDonald, Kathy. They're all people who have been very generous in giving me things. Diane Falat, she's one of the top, US's top storytellers. She says that she's my mentor. I am scared to say, because I have to live up to her, name. But then she would say. So that kind of a thing. So you learn a lot. But one thing I learned is discipline from everybody. If it is 5-minute story, it will be on dot 5 they will stop. They would never eat into anybody's time. So I thought that was something that impressed me a lot.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And I learned the lesson that if you can't impress anybody in 2 minutes, you can't impress anybody in 2 hours. 2 minutes is enough to just, get people hooked onto you. And I strongly believe in that. And that's it. So that's how my journey started and all these things. Of course, when you ask about whether children have it, many of the festivals I've attended do have a small, segment where children do tell stories. They do tell stories. Either it is through the, through the libraries, or sometimes it is, dear students, the storyteller students who put up a little show. Right. It is there. But I somehow is not very much for competition. Right. Because how can you say somebody's storytelling is wrong? Because there's no wrong or right way of telling a story.
Correct.
Right. So I somehow feel I can't judge somebody telling a story. That's somehow I feel that. I when they invite me to be judge, I'll humbly say, please I'm a poor judge, so don't invite me to be a judge, and I'll be. So, sure. So that's it. Did I answer all the three questions?
Yes, you did. And
all right.
fabulous.
Thank you.